The following is an informational program from the Sangamon County Circuit Clerk's Office. The information contained in this program is solely for the use of the people of Sangamon County to make them more aware of the services of the Circuit Clerk's Office. The employees of the Circuit Clerk's Office cannot give legal advice. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Circuit Clerk Presents. My name is Palazzolo, your Sangamon County Circuit Clerk, and on this edition, our program is going to discuss the topic of Sojourn shelter and services. We'll also discuss domestic abuse, or what can be called intimate partner violence. Sojourn was founded in 1975 as a result of grassroots efforts by concerned citizens in Sangamon County and the surrounding community. The primary goal was to provide a safe place to assist victims of domestic violence. These concerned citizens opened their hearts and their homes, often at late night hours and to late night calls, and today Sojourn Shelter is still answering those calls to assist. Initially, Sojourn started working towards a drop-in meeting place in which women could gather, and that way they'd have a place. However, the need for a shelter from domestic violence became evident. The shelter began as a 4-bed facility operated by volunteers and a budget of just $6,000 per year. In 1979, the agency moved to its 3rd location with the capacity for 26 and operating costs that exceeded $500,000 a year. The urgent need to address domestic violence in other counties of central Illinois led Sojourn Shelter and Services to create satellite offices in Christian, Logan, Montgomery, and Menard counties. In 1998, the agency moved to their current location at 1800 Westchester Boulevard. Now they have a capacity for 32 women, men, and children, and continue to provide services of crisis management, legal advocacy, and of course, shelter services. This is a very important issue, and with us today to tell us more about Sojourn Shelter and Services is Chief Executive Officer of Sojourn Shelter, Angela Bertoni, where she has served in this capacity for the past 6 years. Before she joined Sojourn Shelter, she had 14 years of working at Senior Services of Central Illinois as Chief Development Officer, 26 years of management experience total, including serving as board members for the Heartland Continuum of Care from 2013 to now, board member for EFSP from 2017 to the present, and co-chair of the Funding Oversight Committee for a lot of state of Illinois agencies that handle these kind of issues. What's important to note is under her watch, Sojourn Shelter was named in 2018 as Best of Springfield, and she was recognized as Fundraiser of the Year. And she was also included in Springfield Business Journal 40 Under 40. She's a graduate from the University of Illinois Springfield with a degree of Master of Public Administration. Angela, welcome. That's a lot of good stuff about Sojourn Shelter and about your efforts in the community as well. So help us and the viewers understand what is considered domestic violence, or in the name also it can be termed intimate partner violence.
Well, domestic violence can be physical, it can be emotional, it can be mental or sexual abuse. But what most people don't understand is domestic violence is all about power and control and enacting that over another person. So some people think it's just about, like someone maybe drank too much, or maybe someone lost a job and so they got angry and so they just took it out on a partner, and that's not really what happens. Some of those items are triggers, but really it's all about enacting power and control over another person.
Wow. So Sojourn Shelter began as a 4-bed facility and had somewhat limited funding when it first started. Fast forward to 2019 and give us an overview of the facilities now.
Well, we've increased a great deal in the last 6 years. We now have a budget of over $1.4 million.
On an annual basis?
On an annual basis,
1.4.
yes. We have a 32-bed shelter. We are serving over 7,300 individuals a year.
Wow, okay. So while Sojourn Shelter assists primarily women, you also assist men who are experiencing domestic violence. Tell us a little bit about that and how the services differ.
We serve all victims of domestic violence, so adults and children, men, female. And pretty much all of the services are the same. So if you're a female or a man looking for domestic violence services, we bring you in, we do assessments to find out what your needs are, and then we pair you with a crisis manager so that we can help you utilize all the services that we provide in-house, and then we also will provide referrals to any other outside agencies that you might need. We also pair you up with one of our court advocates if you're needing assistance with an order of protection. And then, like I said, we have a 24-hour crisis hotline, so at any point in time you need to talk to one of our crisis managers, someone's always here. We are open 24/7, 365.
Wow.
So there is always someone here waiting to meet you at the shelter or let you, come in. It could be 2 o'clock in the morning and someone's always here for you.
What kind of telephone traffic does that crisis hotline receive, like say in the overnight hours? Is that a lot of...
Some days are busier than others, but overall we receive about 3,500 calls a year for individuals who are either seeking services. We will take anyone, you talked about our 5-county service area, but we will take anyone from anywhere. If they're trying to flee a domestic violence situation, we've had people come from the East Coast, from the West Coast. We've had people that were unfortunately involved in human trafficking that came from overseas, and we've tried to help them get back home. So our job is to make sure, one, that victims are safe. So we want to bring them into shelter, ensure that they are safe, and then help them build an independent life.
What would be the cost on average to assist a person who's kind of experienced domestic violence?
It really all depends. Some cases are more intense than others. Some individuals we can help assist on a one-time basis with filling out paperwork and help them with an order of protection. Some individuals might come and stay in our shelter for 90 days. Some of them might come stay 90 days and then they might need us to follow them for 5 years and provide them that support services that they need. Maybe they just really need to talk to someone weekly about the things that they've endured over their lifetime, and so it all depends. I was going to say, on average, probably about $1,500 for a person who is coming in and getting shelter services and stuff like that. But if you figure that domestic violence costs our nation $8.3 billion a year, that's a really small investment.
Indeed. So funding sources, anything that you might be receiving from either the federal level or the state level? We get a lot of state funds from the Department of Human Services. We also get a great deal of funding from federal funds from the Violence Against Women's Act, and then the VOCA funds, and then we also get Attorney General money, we get some United Way money, and so every bit counts. We get a lot of support from our people, the people in our community. They are always really just monetarily and then in-kind donations that they provide to our services that are just invaluable, because without their funding we can't leverage our grant funds, and we need match dollars in order to do those. And then you've got staff team members that help make sure that you're complying with all those grant fund requirements and seeking out additional grant funds that are available.
Yeah, we have over 30 staff, so the staff are really busy providing direct services, along with a lot of other duties. I'm predominantly the one looking for the grant funds and stuff like that. So always looking to definitely take care of my staff. I think it's really good to make sure that staff are paid a livable wage so that they self-care and take care of themselves, because they can't help our clients if they are so bogged down with their lives.
Well, being Chief Development Officer for Senior Services probably give you a lot of good training to go
Most definitely
find those grant monies that are kind of seeking out there. How does you mentioned United Way? How does the United Way assist you with your financial goals here at Sojourn Shelter?
United Way supports our children and adult shelter, and they provide about $92,000 a year, and that funding helps us provide our match for our federal and state grants that we are leveraging. So it's really important, when everybody says, how much is this funding, how much is that funding? Well, it all works together. So we tell everybody that without every dollar that we get coming in here, we can't leverage the other dollars. So realistically, I always tell everybody, whatever part you're doing, you're helping to leverage $1.4 million.
For folks who are interested in giving, is it better to go with gifts directly to Sojourn Shelter, or how would they do that through the United Way? What's the best avenue?
They can do it either way. I mean, when you give to United Way, you can give to their community fund, and that not only allows, United Way to put funds to use at our agency, but it allows them to give to the community fund so they can give to lots of other worthwhile agencies. If someone chooses to give to us directly, of course, they can specify that they want it to come specifically here. They can also specify if there's something specific that, is near and dear to their heart, and they would like us to use the funds for that. Of course, unrestricted gifts that we can kind of fill in the gaps for extra food around the shelter, maybe personal hygiene items that we need. When utility months, when those utilities are really high, sometimes we need extra dollars there. So it really, does help just to receive funding and stuff like that. But we also graciously accept like personal hygiene items, laundry detergent. We have 32 people living here, so about 15 families living here all the time. So think about how much toilet paper you use and paper towels and just things like that. Anything that someone uses in their household, sheets, washcloths, towels, shampoo, conditioner, deodorant, like all of those things we provide for our clients. Sometimes they're fleeing in the middle of the night, and so they don't have anything with them other than the clothes on their back.
Exactly. Now, you talked a lot about treasure there, that one T word. Then there's the other T word, time.
Yes.
What is available for folks who would like to donate their time to Sojourn Shelter?
They have got a little more strict on guidelines about people coming in to volunteer just because of the confidentiality and then also just the different facets of shelters. So we've had to be a little bit more careful. Some individuals working with children have to go through our 40-hour state mandated training. But we do have lots of other things for individuals who just want to give back. Sometimes we have, fundraising events that they can help out with which we've had some really great groups that have stepped up and done that. We also have individuals who cook meals. So, I mean, cooking a meal and bringing it into the shelter, I mean, that's great for all of our clients here. We've also had individuals who have come in and helped file paperwork, or, we have individuals, we have a shredding company, Affordable Shred, who comes and shreds our documents for us. And so we make sure like all that stuff stays confidential until it's destroyed. We just have a wide variety of people, like I said, we have someone from Shields who comes and mows our courtyard. We have a church that has adopted our land, and so they mow that for us.
Wow,
so
that's
there's,
fantastic.
so just, like pretty much if someone, has any skills in any type of maintenance or repair, I mean, there's so many things that, go on in a large building, and our grants don't provide for a lot of those things.
Well, you wouldn't want me volunteering to cook. At our house, we pray after we eat. You mentioned very quickly some of the events that folks might be able to donate their time for, like, say, fundraising events that you mentioned.
Usually the first Thursday of October, we've held a comedy event at Donnie B's.
Okay.
And it's been a great time. We've had some great comedians over the last couple years, and everybody can come out and eat, have a few drinks,
Of course, yep.
and enjoy.
That makes people laugh better.
Yes, and enjoy a really wonderful show and stuff. And the comedians have been very gracious. They've done a meet and greet after that. We've also had a few other smaller events like a 5K and stuff like that. But our big one is the comedy event, and I think that's coming up, like I said, the first Thursday in October.
Sure. Well, I think that's important for folks that might be watching to kind of keep their eyes open for the events that are going to be helpful too. Well, we're going to be continuing with Angela Bertoni from Sojourn Shelter Services right after this quick break. Don't go away.
Intimate partner violence is defined as physical violence, sexual violence, stalking, and psychological aggression by a current or former intimate partner, and is preventable.
Intimate partner violence threatens the well-being of millions of people and their families every single day. Intimate partners may include current or former spouses, boyfriends, girlfriends, dating partners, or sexual partners.
Intimate partner violence can occur between heterosexual or same-sex couples. Some victims may suffer just one experience, while others endure violence that lasts for years.
1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men have experienced intimate partner violence in their lifetime. And 1 in 10 high school students have experienced physical teen dating violence, which is a form of intimate partner violence.
Intimate partner violence consequences are widespread.
It impacts physical and mental health. It results in billions of dollars in medical, mental health, and lost work productivity costs.
But the good news is that intimate partner violence is preventable. We have strategies that can help you prevent this problem in your community. We can prevent intimate partner violence by teaching safe and healthy relationship skills, engaging influential adults, working to prevent violence starting in early childhood, creating protective environments, strengthening economic support for families, and supporting survivors to increase safety and lessen harms.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Paul Palazzolo, your Sangamon County Circuit Clerk. And again, this is Circuit Clerk Presents, with this edition focusing on Sojourn Shelter Services here in Springfield. And with us is their Chief Executive Officer, Angela Bertoni. And we've kind of had a very few interesting discussions about fundraising at Sojourn and some of the services provided by Sojourn. But now we kind of want to delve into some serious topics about the actual folks who are served as well. And particularly, how does the Illinois Domestic Violence and the Violence Against Women's Act support Sojourn's efforts to be an advocate for victims?
Well, the Illinois Domestic Violence Act helps us maintain our ironclad confidentiality. So pretty much anything that our clients are telling us is, I guess, supported by making sure that we don't have to provide that information to anyone, and so we can protect their rights and making sure that whatever they're telling us is in utmost confidence, and they know that we are here to serve them and help them and get them services. So that act has provided funding, and then the Violence Against Women's Act, currently it's usually reauthorized every 5 years. It was something that was supposed to be reauthorized in December of 2018, and unfortunately it did not get done. They are still working on securing some of the provisions and making it even stronger than it was before. But the act itself, you can continue to act underneath it even though it's not been reauthorized. So the budget is kind of a whole separate entity. And the budget funding for this year was reauthorized and for $215 million. So it's holding steady across the state. And so the funding will come through and it will allow us to provide services. So the funding under the VAWA rule supports our counties that are more rural, which is Menards, Logan, Christian, and Montgomery County. But a lot of Sangamon County is also rural areas too. So we are serving a lot of clients that are rural clients through that grant fund.
Any idea how old those two public acts might be, or?
I really don't know right off the top of my head. I just know, like I said, it continues to support VAWA funds not only support rural grant initiatives, but they also do chemical dependency and Latino services currently.
Cool. Now, this is a question that might be difficult, but why do victims of domestic violence or intimate partner abuse go back to their abusers?
Well, if we had a magic, like one formula, that would be amazing. But unfortunately, people go back for a lot of reasons. And one of the things we always talk about is we need to get people to break that cycle, and we need to help them build an independent life. If we're not helping someone build an independent life, a lot of times then they are going to return to the situation that they came from. So financial, dependency is going to be a huge thing whenever we're talking about someone who has either gotten you terminated from your employment or kept you from working, so that way they can control what you do and, how much funding you have, and make sure that you're not leaving. We also have abusers who get the individuals in their homes addicted on drugs, so that they are the one providing money, so that they are again reliant on you for the drug dependency. But there's just a lot of different reasons, and no one falls in love with someone that has loser or abuser written across their forehead. Sometimes abusers are the most charismatic people that you'll meet out in public. So unfortunately, individuals fall in love with someone. I think we all inherently want to believe that people love us and they don't mean to hurt us, and that they really care about us. And I think that's hard. That's hard to decide that enough is enough and to walk away. So like I said, individuals a lot of times go back just because they care and they love that person, and it's hard to break those ties.
From what you've seen, what does it take to break that cycle? What does it take to break those ties, and how do you empower victims of abuse?
Well, one thing that we always tell everybody is you can't make that decision for someone to leave. We know a lot of parents sometimes get involved and they're like, they just need to get out. But until you decide for yourself that enough is enough, and for some people, someone hits me one time, someone calls me names for a week, it's just different for some individuals. Sometimes people, they say a lot of times that usually about 15 instances happen before they ever report it. And once they report it and then they start to leave, some people return 5 to 7 times before they ever truly decide to leave that domestic violence incident.
Wow. Now, another sensitive question. How sometimes are children affected by the environment of domestic abuse? I mean, and that's probably tough to get through, both from a team perspective as well as from a leadership perspective. How does that?
Well, in 75% of the cases where domestic violence is happening, child abuse is also happening. So child abuse, the number one risk indicator for it is domestic violence. So if you see it happening with mom, most likely it's happening with the children. So that is really, really hard to see. And it impacts all children different, just like the abuse impacts adults different. We have some kids who regress, we have some kids who internalize things, we have some kids who act out. So it is, impacting them in different ways. But we always say that sometimes maybe we can never reach the adults, maybe we can never change their lifestyle, and that they've grown up with domestic violence, so they'll continue to live their adult life. But we're hoping to reach the kids and teach them that hands are not for hitting, and that they need to, use, nicer words and treat people how they'd want to be treated. And we're hoping that that can impact their life so that they grow up and then they're not adults who, have abuse as a part of their life.
Does Sojourn Shelter have any kind of opportunities to express those thoughts to children that might be here, or is that, what are some of the services that are here for that?
We work a lot with kids, just kind of identifying, characteristics of abuse, talking to them, and making sure that they know that the abuse is not their fault, because unfortunately a lot of times kids internalize things. And they think that, they're the reason mom and dad are fighting, or they're the reason that things are happening. And we have a lot of kids who come to the shelter and they say this is the first night that they have slept, and they can't even remember how long, because of the fact that they don't know if they're going to wake up and find mom dead in the morning. I mean, it's an actual real fear that kids are, having going on. And then, because of the situations that are happening in the household, maybe they haven't eaten, nutritious meals, they're not sleeping well, and the teachers wonder why they're falling asleep in class. Well, their tummies are empty and they can't concentrate. But we try to do as many things as we can for the kids. I think it's really important that we incorporate like a lot of play into what we're doing. We have a great playground out back.
Okay.
We have a basketball hoop. You can find out more shooting hoops with a kid than you can sitting across the table and drilling them. So I think that's really important. We have a lot of different children's activities. We do some art and different things like that, exercise, movie nights, try to incorporate a lot more fun into it. Like I said, more than anything, we want the kids to know that they're safe,
of course,
and that somebody is here for them, and that we're not going to allow that abuse to continue.
Of course. Here's where the Circuit Clerk's office and Sojourn kind of merge together. Sojourn Shelter provides assistance for those who need to file orders of protection. Can you give us an overview of those steps that someone might take to file an order of protection, so that we can maybe see what folks might be watching need to learn?
Sure. Well, we have some people who come into shelter and they come in and they're residing here at the point in time, and then they talk to one of the crisis managers and they get them hooked up with one of our court advocates, and then they take them and assist them over at the courthouse in filing the entire application. They'll answer any of their questions, they'll assist them in filling out. Now a lot of the forms are all electronic, so that does make it, for some, a lot easier, and for others a lot more difficult, because there are some people who are just really computer illiterate, and so understanding those steps are really still important. But last year we helped with over 2,000 orders of protection. Wow.
And the Circuit Clerk's office is now with the e-filing that has gone through our office to help folks like that who might not have access to the paperwork. We also have folks not only like your team, but also we have folks on our team in the Circuit Clerk's office that helps individuals who might need to go through that process of electronically filing. So I think we both have worked together to help make that possible. Anything else you want to add on
I
orders
was
of
just going to
protection?
say, I think that's pretty important. Like some people do have access to the internet, but maybe they don't have transportation to get
Sure.
to some
Sure.
place that they need to. So I think e-filing, has really, helped some people to gain access when maybe they wouldn't have been able to otherwise.
Exactly. Another important question, and I think folks watching might be interested, about the risks that social media platforms pose for victims of domestic violence. And I think we just need to realize that. I think we're just so lulled into social media. Sometimes we don't really can be aware of the dangers that and the pitfalls that holds. Give us a little bit of what your experience has seen.
Well, we tell our clients always to protect yourself and to try not to post as many things as possible. What individuals have to understand is you're at 75% greater risk of being killed when you leave. So having access to knowing where you are by, even apps that allow you to track on your phone, or when you upload pictures on Facebook or
Sure.
things like that, and that tags where you last were, for someone who's fleeing or trying to hide from their abuser, that allows them information to track an individual. But they don't only do that. I mean, people have used social media to literally harass and stalk people in ways that have never been done before. And it's so unfortunate because unfortunately the system does fail our people a lot. There isn't a lot of protection, and there's not a lot of ways to get, defaming things taken down and stuff like that. And it's so frustrating for our clients. Or maybe they've shared intimate pictures with a past partner, and the next thing you know, those items are, roaming the internet. So we always preach to everyone to be careful what pictures you're taking, what information you're sharing, make sure that you're blocking, so people can't see where you're located.
Sure. Yep.
And it's just so very important for them to do those kind of things, because we've even found, some people taking pictures in the shelter, and it's like, what are you doing? And then you're posting it, so like everyone now knows where you're located, and it just provides more danger for information that really doesn't need to be shared. So,
What kind of messaging are you using to help get that across? I mean, is that something that you post around here, or?
we have groups, and we talk about those types of things. We also, any time that we bring people into shelter, we talk about confidentiality, and not only for our other clients, but for the individuals coming into shelter, to take care of themselves too, because I don't think a lot of people think about those things. Like,
No, I mean,
maybe someone, installed a tracking app on their phone and they didn't even know about
Exactly.
it, or, they turned on their location services and they've just shared it with everyone, and we just kind of tell them the importance of limiting, who you're allowing to follow you and stuff, because maybe someone that was your friend is now, partnering up with your, abuser, and, they might be following you, and we don't want you to be out late at night and all of a sudden someone comes around the corner.
On the big picture, would you see the increase or decrease in domestic violence or abuse in Springfield and surrounding counties?
That's really hard to answer. I think there's always been abuse. I think there's been more awareness towards it. I think people have gotten braver about speaking out and acknowledging what's happening to them. So I can't always say that there's a big influx, but we've definitely seen, I think, across our nation, a big influx of violence. People who don't respect authority, people who, I don't know if they've become braver, but I mean, we have mass shootings in places that I would have never, feared, like my kids going to school or at concerts or in churches, and, just places I would have never thought something like that would have happened. So I think it is a lot more prevalent. I think, like I said, I think the media is shedding some light on it, so we see it more often.
Yeah.
But I think it's always been there, and it's unfortunate. Domestic violence, I see everywhere.
Sure.
I go out and I really can't escape it. You can just see by looks on people's faces, by things that are said. I mean, it really happens in all walks of life. It's not just a poor demographic. It's not just happening in, poor communities. I mean, it's happening with, doctors' wives. It's happening, all across, the spectrum. It's happening with teens in schools and even grade school students. I mean, it's just getting younger and younger. And sometimes it starts off relatively innocent, and it might be someone, telling you, well, don't you want to spend time with me, and manipulating who you're spending time with, and then it turns physical. And if you ask anyone who's been a victim that we've served, the broken bones, the lacerations, the cuts, all of those things heal over time, but it's those words that are,
That
the
linger.
emotional and mental abuse that never goes away, that
Yep.
replays in your head over and over and again.
Wow. Angela, thank you for bringing your talent to Sojourn Shelter, and bless you for all the work that you do, especially helping your team make a difference here. Most appreciated.
Thank you.
This has been Circuit Clerk Presents. Our guest has been Angela Bertoni with Sojourn Shelter and Services. My name's Paul Palazzolo. Thank you for joining us for this very important episode. We'll see you next time.